Hi everyone. I'm glad you've decided to join me for today's God Nugget. And I have some friends who decided to join me, and not all of them are on the camera, but you might hear the voice of some of the other ones. And also I wanted to point out that I'm wearing a flamingo band-aid because I hurt my knuckle and it was bleeding a little bit, and I needed a band-aid, and some friends from church, two girls, you know who you are, gave me a flamingo band-aid, and I appreciate that. Now, before we read our Bible verse for the day, I want to ask you a question. In your family, if your dad or your mom is trying to get your attention, how do they call you? Do they yell, "Hey kids, come here"? Or do they call your name?
Call your name.
Call your name?
And I was like, "Hey, come here!"
How about if the dogs are outside? How do they call the dogs?
Do you just say their names?
You just yell the dog's name?
Usually. Or
Yeah.
sometimes they also say, "Come" in their name.
Yeah, sometimes they do that. At my house, we don't have a dog anymore, but we used to have a dog, and sometimes we would, wow, that's a loud tractor. Sometimes we would whistle like this. Come here!
That's loud.
And sometimes when my kids were little, I would yell their name. Gabe, Manna, Mitchell. Or sometimes, like if we're at Meyer, and my kids are all grown up now, but we used to have a family whistle. And our family whistle went like this. And
That's
I'm
like
not
a
kidding you.
rod.
Today, if I was at the store and my kids were at the store and did not know I was there, and I did the family whistle, they would jerk their heads around because now everybody knows my family whistle because I just told it in a God Nugget. But that's our family whistle.
Does your t-shirt say Jesus?
It does. My t-shirt says Jesus. This was a special t-shirt when my daughter played volleyball at Kalamazoo Valley. All right. Well, today I want to talk about how Jesus calls for us. And it's going to be the memory verse for the month of June. And are you ready to read it for me? It starts right here.
Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest.
Matthew 11, and the verse is 28. When Jesus calls us, he doesn't whistle for us. He doesn't yell, "Hey, get over here." He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden." That means you have a heavy burden on your back.
What's a burden?
A burden is like a load, like a pack, like something. It could be a real pack, or it could be something just in your heart because you're so troubled by something, or you're so tired, or you're so worried. And Jesus says, "Come to me, I will give you rest." That's going to be our memory verse, Matthew 11:28. But the next verse is a good one too. Pastor Todd is preaching on these verses right now. "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So here's the moral of the story. If you are carrying a burden of anxiety or fear or depression or worry or anything like that, and that's a heavy burden that pushes you down, then the burden that you're carrying is not Jesus's burden, because Jesus's burden is not heavy. It's easy and it's light. And when we trust him, we don't feel crushed by our burdens. Now, what did you just see? Did you see a bird fly by?
Yes.
And I'm looking at the tree above me. Do you see any gypsy caterpillars coming down on us?
No.
I don't see any, but it does look like they've been eating the leaves. Look at that. They've been eating the leaves at church, and they've been eating the leaves at my house too. Well, thank you for being here today and for being in the God Nugget for Kids. And thank you to your family for helping to water some of our flowers.
I think the hostas might have got chewed on a bit.
The hostas might have? Well, we should go inspect them. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this week's God Nugget. Bye.